thrilled to welcome you to the SAG Foundation event with the best show not on television, Orange is the New Black. This is clearly the show everyone's talking about with good reason. One of my favorite bits of praises was the Washington Post called it brilliance behind bars. A lot of that is due to the fact it's dramatic, it's hilarious, and it has one of the best ensembles I've ever seen on TV. And at this time, I'd like to welcome the woman who heads that amazing ensemble. She's an actress you might recognize from such films as The Lucky One or Argo, but her portrayal of Piper Chapman is truly a revelation. Please welcome Taylor Schilling. Of course, wearing black. Yeah. Is that expected everywhere you go now?
To wear black?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, more so than orange. I feel a little too on the nose. If I showed up in orange, I'd embarrass myself and probably everyone. Feel like, you that girl from that show about orange and you're wearing orange? Anyway, I'm feeling nervous. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's all actors here, and
I know. I love that. That's so cool. It's so cool that it's just neat. That's neat.
Speaking of, because this is a SAG audience, I always like to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card?
You know, I got my SAG card when I went to undergraduate school, and then I went to graduate school, and then I dropped out of graduate school, and then I got a show called Mercy, and it was my first. I'd actually done like a couple days on this film called Dark Matter right after I graduated from college, and I think I was supposed to get my SAG card, but I never paid for it or something. I don't really know. But then I went to school, and when I got Mercy, they were like, "You pony up." So that's how I got my card.
Mercy was a series that you were the lead of, no?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was a little bit like from 0 to 60. Yeah. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did it.
But you're all paid up now, so you can vote in the SAG Awards.
Yes.
Okay, just checking. So moving on to Orange is the New Black, how did this script find its way to you, and what, I mean, I have to imagine it was so fabulous on the page. Did you instantly know you had something special?
Yeah, you know, it really was one of the best scripts and that I'd ever read for a woman. It felt so dynamic and so fleshed out, and I initially was really drawn to it because I'm a big fan of Jenji Kohan's work. I've always really enjoyed Weeds, and so I was curious about it from that point of view. But once I read, and the Netflix thing was secondary. I didn't even know what medium it was really going to find its home in. But I would have followed this character anywhere. You know.
What did they send you? Was it the pilot, or were they all written at that point?
No, just the pilot. Just the pilot. So I just saw. I think you guys just watched the pilot. So I just that's all I got.
And was it always the character of Piper they were interested in seeing you for?
Yes.
So was it an audition process? Can you take us through it?
Yeah. So I got the script, and actually there was a director from Mercy who knew the guy who was show running the show last year, and he'd brought my name into the mix for with Jenji. So I went in, and I just, like we all know, I went and read for the casting director, and I read for the casting director. I think that was it. Yeah.
That was it?
Yeah.
One audition?
Yeah.
At what point did you meet Jenji?
After I had the part. Yeah, so I got the part, and then I think Jenji was like in Ireland or something, and she watched the tape, and in a very Jenji-like fashion was just like, yep, okay, next. So I just got the part.
How did you find out? I mean, did your agent call you, or where were you when you got the news?
My agent, my manager called me, and I was in my friend Colleen's apartment at the El Royale by myself. She wasn't there. I was living there while she was living in my apartment in New York.
This is like that movie, The Holiday.
Yeah, right. Except not so much. My apartment in New York is not like that place that Kate Winslet stayed in. at all. Oh, there's like a kitchen table. And so I jumped up and down. I was so excited. I was really, and it was a little bit like, really? This is really? So then it just happened.
Did it seem abnormally easy to you? I mean,
You know what I've actually found? I keep finding that the things that feel the most right are the easiest. The things that work out, there's like a certain flow to it, and it doesn't feel like work. It feels sort of more like it has kind of been there all along, and it's just stepping into something that was almost there waiting.
do you remember what scene you did for the audition?
Oh yeah, I did the scene where I call Larry at the end of the episode and I tell him that I've only talked to white people. And I did a scene where with Laura, with Alex, where she at the airport, and I've like just gone through customs. I missed customs, and then there was a scene with Jason, with Barada, right as I'm leaving going to the prison.
Did you actually perform with them, or had they not been cast yet?
They hadn't been cast yet,
Okay.
so I got cast, and then I did chemistry reads with a bunch of different actors, which is
Wow.
really, really fun. Yeah.
What did you think about this Netflix model of first of all, doing original programming online, but also putting all the episodes out at once? Because this was all before House of Cards kind of, set the standard for it.
Well, I don't know, I feel like I can talk about this here. It's like I sort of cared about that, and I sort of was just like, this is such a great job.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a great part that I sort of would have followed it to anywhere it was going to go. And I just feel every time I get a part, I feel like, oh my God, I'm working. This is so amazing. So, I was just really excited about that. And I was really excited about Jenji. I really trusted Jenji. So I didn't really think much about the Netflix of it all. That's how I watch things now. So it seems logical to me. That's kind of how I watch TV. So it makes sense. It made sense. But I didn't think that much about it.
When the show first came out, there was some promotion on it. It wasn't quite anything like House of Cards, which felt like you couldn't walk 3 feet without seeing something
I know.
So
His
the fact
face
that
and the thing.
yes, which I just realized it's bleeding. I just noticed that like 2 days ago.
There's blood on his hands.
That's a different show.
Yeah.
But for you guys to go on and become like Netflix's most watched series, and the way you've worked yourselves into the pop culture, vernacular, did that catch you by surprise?
Yeah. Yeah. What I love about it is that it feels like, as much as these things can happen organically, it sort of feels like it happened organically. Mm-hmm. That it wasn't as much, it seems like it's about people responding to the story and to the characters, as opposed to creating a big marketing thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it seems like at least that's been my experience of it. I don't know if it feels like walking every 3 feet and seeing, that weird poster.
You in what appears to be a wig.
Yeah, it looks like I'm wearing it looks like a newscaster hairdo. So embarrassing.
That's what it is. That's embarrassing, not the fact you're sitting on a toilet.
Oh,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Was there a moment when you sort of realized that you guys had become part of, the pop culture landscape?
It kind of feels like we're shooting season 2 right now. Yeah. So I guess every time I hear somebody say something like that, I think about it. But it's kind of been nice because the show came out on July 11th, and we all went back to work on July 29th. So it sort of feels like we're just in the world of doing work right now. So I don't know if it's completely landed for anybody, the impact it's had.
You were at the Emmys last night, right?
Yes, I was.
To get, and just for everyone who's already sent me angry tweets, they were not eligible for the Emmys this year.
So
They will be
sweet.
eligible for next year. But what was that like? I mean, you got a shout out in the first like 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah. I think, well, I was sitting with Danielle, who plays Tasty. Hi, Danielle. And she's so good, isn't she? And we were sitting together and we did that and it was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I think actually in that moment it was sort of like,
Yeah.
this is now, how cool, how cool. It's something that we're all so proud of. And I feel like I hear actors say that a lot, I'm so proud of this, or like it really feels like a family, or we all really love each other. But like that's really been the experience of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of felt like we were all, in private doing something for the past year that we just were so excited about and so passionate about. And and in a lot of ways, it felt like we've all been trained, and most of us have been trained in similar ways. So it kind of felt like we were going to play in class every day. And it's just really neat to have that, to share that like intimate feeling with the world and have it be embraced.
So no diva behavior yet? Like you're allowed to look everyone in the eye still?
Oh God, yes. I think it helps that like we all come to work, and if anybody was oh so bold as to put on like a little bit of eyeliner, it's like you walk into hair and makeup and it's like they hand you the freaking wipe thing to do it yourself. It's like, take it off, and like we put on our jumpsuits and everybody, it's like a very, nobody, no, not yet. Please, not yet.
So once you learned that you'd gotten the role, what sort of research, if any, did you put in? I heard your father was he a district attorney or?
He's an assistant district attorney, which is like he's like a prosecutor for the state. So it was actually, now I'm starting to realize the parallels. I grew up a lot. What he did was he prosecuted people who worked in the prison system. So he was someone who would deal with when correctional officers would miss.
He'd be coming after porn stash.
Yeah, he'd take porn stash down, and so I grew up a lot hearing about how the good guys weren't always good guys, and the bad guys weren't always bad guys, and I heard that kind of talk on the dinner table a lot. And now my dad is a public defender that he's retired, and he works with putting kids who are brought up on drug-related charges into programs and not prison. So it's really odd how this is all kind of a part of my world. But when I was researching the part, I was a little bit. Jenji was really clear with me that the woman, that Piper Chapman was a fictional character and she was not Piper Kerman. So I had a lot of leeway to play and explore and take risks, because I did not feel bound in any way to an idea of who she should be. And that was really fun because it helped it stay like what was on the page was what I could play with. I didn't have the burden of like sort of slugging with me Piper Kerman's life story, and that, which is a completely different experience, and I think would be interesting to play. I mean, I think that's a fascinating challenge, to embody someone who's alive. But that didn't feel like what this part was necessarily. But what I was interested in is that, like in the book, Piper doesn't have prison as a reference point when we meet her. She has Brooklyn and soap making and her a man that she's in love with or thinks that she's in love with. Those are her reference points. So that's sort of where I went. That's where I started from with it. I didn't visit prisons and things like that before we started shooting the first season.
And obviously you met the real Piper.
Yes.
Did that, even though you're trying to create a completely new character, was there anything about meeting her that maybe changed your perception or changed your performance at all?
Yeah, for sure. I met her while we were shooting the first episode. She actually came in and I met her the first day when we were shooting that scene where I insult the food in front of Red, and it was really, and I've gotten to know her quite well over this process, and I really cherish that relationship, and things that I would not have really expected to glean from her, I have become really important. You know, little things. We talk about very little things, and you know, she let me know about the noise in prison. There's never any silence. It's sort of this cacophony because it's all hard surfaces. There's nothing soft to absorb noise, so your body never really rests the way it does on the outside. You're constantly hearing things, and the lights never go off, so you never rest. You can never rest in the same way. And that even like the aesthetically, even visually, your visual palette is completely monochromatic. Everybody's wearing the same colors, and prison are very institutional. It's all layers of taupe and beige and gray, which is purposeful. You don't want to excite any senses. It's dehumanizing, and that's not something that I think I would have as understood as viscerally if I hadn't really just gotten that from a conversation with somebody who'd become kind of a friend.
Is it hard for her to be on set, or just strange, or is she pretty used to it at this point?
Well, it's probably a good question for her. I do know that she talks about how her and Larry they came onto set for the first time, and she talks about her stomach dropped a little bit seeing and that Larry, her husband, had never been able to be inside the prison. Mm-hmm. So it was like him being in the cafeteria was the first time he was sort of seeing the cafeteria she ate in for 15 months or 13 months, or the bunks where she slept in for 13 months. So that was interesting.
If this show keeps continuing to be successful, they're never going to be able to let you out.
Oh, dear God.
You're going to have to keep committing crimes to stay in for the next 10 years. 10 years minimum.
Hi, Chihuahua. Oh, no, that's too much.
So obviously, whenever anyone discusses this show, we have to talk about the amazing cast. Mm-hmm. Such a great group of actually actors and actresses. Mm-hmm. Such a great display of diversity. Did you know any of them before you met? Was the chemistry pretty instantaneous?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't know anybody, really. I knew Laura from that 70s show. I didn't know anybody else. Actually, no. Kate played my mom.
What?
Kate played my mom on Mercy. The first job I ever, well, I guess I had one job before that, but the first job that felt like when I got my SAG card.
The first legal job, yeah.
The first legal job. Yeah, I guess it was illegal that I did it. She played my mom. So that was pretty neat. And now in another capacity, she's sort of playing like an authority-ish figure in my life. So it's pretty cool. But it was kind of instantaneous. And it's that strange thing, I think. It's like meeting somebody that you want to become friends with, where you just sort of, and I think that's why it's like you do a play, and my experience was like when I was in acting school and stuff, it's like you do plays and everybody wanted to go out and get a drink afterwards or hang out, and there was this like real family feel, like the rehearsal process and things like that. And that's kind of what it feels like with this cast. And because so many of them are so young and just are coming out of school too, it's like we all have that as the school thing as a reference point. So it kind of feels like that camaraderie.
Who would you say is the least like their character?
Well, I mean, Uzo.
That was
my
gonna
God.
Be my guess. Although I kind of want her to be like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, she could be if you asked her to, because she's an actress. I don't know what I'm doing.
There's such great chemistry, obviously, between
and
everyone.
Taryn Manning.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, Taryn Manning is not like that at all. Yeah.
There's such great chemistry with everyone on the show, but specifically I want to talk about your leading lady and your leading man. You have such great chemistry with both Jason Biggs and Laura Prepon. How naturally did that develop, especially when you're supposed to have had this long history with both?
Yeah, I think that's another thing. That's another thing that. Well, that's the interesting thing also about being a part of the casting process, is that when we were doing chemistry reads, there was something that clicked with both of them really immediately and really viscerally, and it's that thing where the air just kind of goes out of the room, and then all of a sudden everything just fits. And that's a real head start. I think that's that thing that's ineffable. That's that thing that everybody kind of looks for. But they're also just incredibly talented. You know, they're incredibly talented. Both of them feel like it's being, for both Jason and Laura, it kind of feels like working with really great dance partners. You can just kind of let go and see what happens.
They're both very interesting love stories, too. I'm not sure who I'm rooting for, to be honest. Part of me is really weirdly hoping it works out with Alex. You also have some amazing directors on the show, including Andrew McCarthy and Jody Foster have both done episodes.
Yeah.
What's that like to be directed by someone who, I'm assuming you grew up watching?
Yeah, and idolizing. I mean, Jody Foster for me and Andrew McCarthy are both people that I've been actors whose work I've been familiar with my entire life. So I was really, really excited. I was totally, more than my first day of work, when Jody was on set for the first day, I was very nervous. And she came to shadow an episode before to kind of get to know the set and stuff, and it was like, Jody Foster's on the set. So anyway, yeah.
I do want to take some questions from the audience because we have, for some reason, like a very international fan base you've got going here. I didn't know this was a real place, but apparently the Land of Nod in the UK.
Is that a real place?
I think I checked with someone, and I guess it is.
Wow.
Unless it's an elaborate prank, in which case, good on you. But I fell for it. But Kate wanted to know, during the first season, you managed to deliver effortlessly highly emotional, comedic, and dramatic scenes. But what for you as an actress was the toughest, most challenging scene to film during the series, and how did you prepare for it?
That's a really good question.
Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Kate, from the Land of Nod. What was the most challenging scene? You know, I mean, there were some scenes towards the end of the season that I actually, I mean, in particular, there's a scene where Taryn comes in and threatens Piper with a razor blade, and that really frightened me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never, that combination of feeling physically vulnerable and emotionally and sort of spiritually and mentally so stripped down. Those scenes were interesting. It was interesting to explore. But I think what I loved most was that Piper was somebody like last season that I could kind of surf, because there were so many highs and so many lows. And I think that when you're kind of in that space of exploring someone so intimately, and the writing is so good, that you can kind of just let go and ride it a little bit.
Do you sort of have to stay in character between takes, or are you able to let it go? I mean, I'm just curious, when you're filming and a scene that intense, like when it's over, do you and Taryn, start laughing, or do you say, stay away from me for a little while?
Yeah, well, we actually were laughing while we were doing it. there's a lot of levity, there's a lot of levity on the set. I was really cold by the end of it, so I was not a happy camper.
It's correct, you're in the shower.
Naked. So, yeah. I mean, yeah. The thing is that the set feels very open and free, and it's like, I had an acting teacher once that talked about when you're really in the pocket of something, it feels like the difference between peas and pea soup. You don't really know where one starts and where the other begins. And sometimes that's how I feel being on set. It's sort of like peas and pea soup when we're working.
I have another question. This one's from Portugal. Carolina, hope I got that right. Are there any similarities and differences between your personality and the character of Piper? Also, you're a great, great actress.
Thank you. Thank you, Carolina. Yeah, I think there are a lot of differences. I think Piper, and a lot of similarities. I think the things that are different are also the things that are the same. Piper's worked really hard to maintain the status quo in her life, and I think we can all relate to that. And that place of having to reconcile with that. Life has presented her with a situation where she can't keep sweeping those things under the rug anymore, and she has to kind of look at who she really is, no matter how that is accepted or rejected by the outside world. And yeah.
Has the real Piper said anything to you about the show? I presume she likes it.
Yeah. She's been incredibly supportive, and she'll watch an episode, or when she was watching it, she'll watch and send me little emails about what she likes, and it really means the world to me. I didn't even realize how much it was going to mean that her and Larry liked it so much, and it did.
Totally circling the globe, we now have a question from Brazil, from Beatriz Cruz. Wants to know how your personal life has been affected after the tremendous success generated by this show.
Well, people come up and say we love the show more, which I love. It's nice to say hi to more people, but not that dramatically. Not my day-to-day life of getting tea in the morning and
maybe they're scared.
In front.
Maybe they saw that finale.
They would be afraid of me too. Yeah, well, maybe that's what's going on. They're terrified as I walk down the street. I don't think so.
Has it changed your career in terms of, are you getting into doors that maybe you couldn't before, or are there offers coming your way?
I think I do feel like I've been given an opportunity to explore more of myself in front of more people, and I certainly hope that brings more opportunity to play parts like this, and with more storytellers like Jenji that have such a strong vision, and that I can help them tell their story. We can together bring something to life. That's really fun.
Do you have anything lined up for after shooting season 2 that you can talk about?
Yeah, well, not right now. That is done and done, but I'm looking forward to some different stuff.
We have a question from this audience. Dawn Keller wants to know, is that Dawn? That's D-A-W-N, so that's a girl. Okay. How did you get your first big break? And there any recommendations on how to get your foot in the door?
I think my first big break was I did a play in college. I don't think this is it. I did a play in college. I did Top Girls. And this woman, Erica Schmidt, directed me. And I was a senior. And I was very nervous. And about what I was going to do when I left. And she called agents for me. And they came and saw my show. And then, still my agent today, Rhonda Price. So that, I think I kind of consider that my first big break. And that was, I guess in a way, kind of the stars aligning. Because as soon as I had, and then it feels like it's the grunt work, it's like a numbers game, the auditioning thing. And I've been on a lot of auditions, and I also like this analogy that it's like throwing spaghetti against a refrigerator to see if it's done. It's like eventually a piece of spaghetti will stick. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I was thinking about that. I'm like, it's like just cook the spaghetti longer instead of throwing it against the refrigerator.
I guess the metaphor is go back to school, study.
Yeah. I mean, well, I studied theater in undergraduate school at Fordham University, and I got my BA in theater and acting. And then I got a fellowship to study acting at NYU's graduate acting program at Tisch. And I did that it was a 3-year program, and I did that for 2 years. And then I left after my second year with nothing lined up, but just because I was feeling like I wanted to kind of be in the work instead of learning. And I left and I babysat, and then I got Mercy. But it was just auditioning.
You did a lot of auditions?
Yeah. I mean, I did. The period of time in which I was auditioning wasn't that long, but I've always been auditioning a lot. And I mean, I've been doing this, and this is the first job that's really given me space to kind of do a lot of it. But I do think getting my agent is like sort of the first big break, because I feel like it's just having the opportunity to do the work. I think the biggest thing is being able to just go to the audition, just show up and just go, and you have to, have access to the audition.
Did you ever have any of those terrible, heartbreaking auditions we hear so much about?
Probably a lot.
Because it sounds like you're good at it, having gotten this.
Yeah. I always kind of like auditioning. That's not always true. I mean, I don't remember quite what happened in this audition, but somehow I didn't know my line. And all I know is that the casting director, I think, said, I don't think we ever want to see her again.
And where's that casting director now?
Now we're friends. I think it was something like Shanice. I don't know.
Wow, and you don't even know what you did to warrant that?
No, I kind of remember. I mean, I sort of knew. I know who he is. I mean, and I wasn't really prepared.
Yeah. We have a question from Tina. Wants to know, in the future, what's one type of role you'd really like to play?
Well, I'd like to do a period piece of some kind.
Get a corset and...
Yeah, a corset, or any period. I'm really interested. I'm really interested in that like element of transformation. It's fun. It's like putting on a jumpsuit is really interesting.
Do you have a preferred medium? Film, TV, theater? You've done it all.
I think they all have they all have things that make it, when I'm doing it, it feels like, oh my God, I love this. They all have those specific, when they're good, when it's working and it feels like it's working. Each of them has something that feels, when I'm in it, I'm like, this is what I love the most.
You mentioned there's a lot of levity on set. Are you guys usually all on set at the same time, pretty much? Because it feels like it's always kind of crowd scenes.
Yeah, we're on set a lot together.
Mm-hmm.
We're on set a lot together. I mean, those of us who are in prison, I feel like there's another land of guards and administrative people on the show that my stories don't intersect with them as much. But a lot of the girls and a lot of us are in at least 1 or 2 an episode. So we sort of see each other all together every week or so.
And did you get all the scripts in advance? Did you know your character arc, or was it?
No. Yeah, we do it episode by episode.
Wow. Was there anything that surprised you that you might have gone back and done differently had you known the full story?
Not really. And that's actually something I kind of like about episodic work, is that you don't know what's coming. And I think that that's an element of that particular medium that's kind of fun to embrace. and is a way with can actually help to kind of just say, I don't know what's coming. Like, I don't know what is going to come out of my mouth next or what's going to happen tomorrow. That you can kind of really invest in it with not knowing where she's going to go script to script.
To that end, tell us everything that happens in season 2. Actually, we have a question from Cassie. Really looking forward to season 2. Do you have any surprises in store? Any new cast members or exciting guest stars? It's gonna become like the Love Boat. Like everyone's gonna want in on this show.
Oh my God, the Love Boat.
Charo shows up in prison for a week. She's still alive, right? Okay.
Yeah, Chara's still alive.
I mean, is there anything you can reveal, or?
I think you're going to get to know more about everybody, and everything's going to, go deeper.
Do I need to break out a shiv? Get some answers here. And how much longer are you shooting for?
I think until the end of January.
Okay, so you have a few more episodes to go.
Yeah, we're
Well,
like halfway through.
I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to see what you do next. Congratulations on
Thank you so
such
much.
an amazing show and a great performance.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.